movies, it brings back happy memories, and it's a fun movie to watch as well.
It is a film for me that carries special memories, being a kid growing up and then seeing these kids playing all these roles. And it's like, wow, this is kind of like, you kind of, well, at least I sort of kind of wanted to like, I want to grow up quicker, which I never recommend to anyone that is a kid today.
No.
Don't grow up too quick.
Highly overrated.
Highly overrated, but it was like, oh, cool, I get to drive cars. I get to go to clubs and everything. And obviously, as not even a teenager, seeing this for the first time, I was like, it's so cleverly played. It's not alcohol they're serving. It's just like, what was it called? The sludge ink or whatever.
Gun.
Yeah. Well, that's the gun, but the booze company they're running, they're like the important drinks that everybody wants. Because it's obviously set during Prohibition.
Yeah,
Hey, Colin.
it's basically the Gorilla racket.
Yeah.
Oh, this was just so clever. I'm just sorry I didn't see it sooner. I was very, very impressed. Very impressed with the whole production.
But the thing is about this movie, this was one of the ones that gives me really happy memories. For the simple fact is, when it was in the cinema for the first time, so I was 11, not even 12. Me, my brother. No, actually, wouldn't have been my brother because he was part of our family had groups of people. So there was my brother would have been in it. So there was like my young cousins. So they were one group. Me, my brother, and our cousins all round about the same age was another group. Then there was my sisters and the older cousins as a third group. So the proper group, as I much thought, was basically we didn't care about the young ones or the old ones. It was us. So there was about 10 or 11 of us, all got money and decided to go to the pictures. So we jumped in the bus, went in, the Odeon, and we didn't know what we were going to see. We just knew we were all going to the pictures, no adults, nothing. Yeah!
Oh, Kelly, you're disappointing us. This is a film you should have seen.
Kelly, don't worry, because I only saw it today.
Yeah, it is a fun.
I feel
and
cheated that
Kelly,
I didn't see it many years ago. But
you can always get, to help you with the songs, the sing-along edition of Bugsy Malone.
That is brilliant, though.
You look at some of the actors in this; it was amazing.
Yeah, I was having fun, sort of trying to, without cheating and peeking at the cast list.
Yes.
I was trying to sort of look at faces and see who I recognized besides Scott Baio and Jodie Foster.
Yeah. Well,
but you do have some lousy. This was her one and only Hollywood thing.
Yeah, I was looking at her face and really studying her features, and she just didn't look familiar to me like someone that I might know today. So I did wonder if she ever did any other work.
I was, a couple of years ago when I was watching it last time, I was checking IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. And there was a few I just did not, I had no knowledge of ever seen again. But then again, some of the ones I have seen, and after I've looked them up, I thought, I know, I've seen him in this, I've seen her in this. It's because when they were young, they look completely different.
Except for Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster looks like the spitting.
Not only Jodie Foster, right? Apart from Scott Baio, who looks, we knew him from watching Happy Days, so we saw him as he get older. Jodie Foster has not really changed a lot. But Dexter Fletcher, you remember him? He was in the UK's, was it Stop the Press?
That didn't take long, by the way. Chat.
Sorry, say that again. Yeah.
Well done.
Already on it.
So,
Boom.
hi everyone. Thank you for joining us. And Taylor, you definitely need to get a hold of this one. It's fun with the.
I will say this, Kellen, you haven't seen it. It's a film from back in the days. I think because you're a frequent presence in this chat, I think you will thoroughly enjoy watching this one.
Oh, definitely.
I was pleasantly surprised because I'm going to throw it out there. I mean, I'm not a big musical fan, although as I was saying to PJ just before we went live, I do have musicals that I do enjoy and that I have a great fondness for. But I wouldn't say that musicals are like the genre for me. But I was so impressed with this, not only for the concept, but the actors, the whole production was just really well done. The sets, really, really enjoyed that element of it a lot.
Yeah. I think it also looked fun. You can just imagine them
Yeah.
having a good laugh after a lot of the scenes. But that's what I'm saying. This is the first one. We went to the cinema, no idea what we were going to see, and we just saw one with a load of kids in it. So we decided to go into that, and we all had fun. Me, my brother, a couple of my male cousins, and a few of my female cousins. It was just we had a great day out and a great movie. And when we were coming back, we were all singing the songs on the bus. Well, parts of the songs that we remember. The one line, "You could have been anything in it, but Grand Slams, my name is Billy." And that was it, because we didn't obviously know the songs at the time.
Yeah, no. It's literally the first time you learn it. But since we actually have members in the audience that haven't seen it, if you had that elevator pitch, like they say in Hollywood, you have the time it takes for the elevator to go from the ground floor to whatever floor it is, you have this amount of seconds just to present the idea for the film. I'm quite curious, because I know, PJ, you've seen it, but you, when you hadn't seen it, how would you try and pitch this idea? Say, oh, I got this amazing film, you got the money, this is how I would sell it. I got like 10 seconds to do it.
Well, that's a very good question. I think it depends on the time that it was made as well. I think it was much more, it stood a much better chance, I think, of really being a cutting edge type concept when it was done. To my knowledge, and I could be completely wrong on this, I don't know if any of the films that have actually done an all child cast again.
There has been ones that
since then.
They did a wee bit, especially the UK did a lot of it. They did adults acting as kids. So like now you had the famous five ones, the comic strip presents. So you had Don French, Adrian Edmonds, and all that doing the famous five. Come on, George! All this kids. There've been a few like that, but there's nothing. It's really been. You've had ones that's all about kids, so you've had the occasional adults in there. Yeah, so it was an all adults playing kids part, and you've had one that's a lot of kids playing kids, but I can't think of another one where it was kids playing adults.
Yeah, it's a superb concept. I don't know. I mean, I can't comment from a professional point of view how I would take that, how I would first sort of react to that as a pitch from a professional point of view. But from a viewer's point of view, I'd be a little wary of it, and I wouldn't quite know what to expect, and I would be thinking it would end up being more of a quote unquote kids film.
Yeah.
See that
option there. I've got a clip that actually sort of actually brings that down. So we'll show a wee clip, shall we? And this is a clip that I've already uploaded, so it shouldn't actually hit us with a copyright strike.
Fingers crossed.
Because they've not claimed this one. Right? So here it's here. So let's go with this one. You're getting the sound, aren't you?
No. It's just fine.
Have you got sound with that?
No, but if it's going to get you copyright strike,
No,
then leave the
let's
sound off.
stop it. Let's stop it, and I'll do it again. Because it's basically I've uploaded this as a clip, and it's not been claimed with copyright because there's just a bit of talking, and it's only I think it's something like just a minute and a half.
I'm surprised. Yeah, that's good. That's a great scene, by the way. Without
is,
going into
it
too
is.
much spoiler territory for anybody that hasn't seen it,
Yeah.
it's a great scene, and it reminds me so much of like the adult gangster films. Where there's always one flunky that hasn't quite pulled his weight. And it did remind me a little bit of an Al Capone film. I think it was The Untouchables. There was a scene in The Untouchables that Capone actually kills off one of his flunkies because he's failed somehow. I can't remember the exact scene, but it's obviously quite a very upsetting, shocking scene cinematically. But it reminded me a little bit of that scene because he's sort of doing a similar thing, only with custard pies, which is even more fun, really.
Right, you might get a wee bit of an echo because accordingly, if you share the sound, you might hear a wee bit of yourselves coming back on you, just so aware. But I'll play this, so I will. Can you hear the sound now?
Yes.
Hi, boys. Hi, boys. Hi, boys. Okay, relax, will you? Well, guys, I'd like to take this opportunity of thanking you for your work so far. Everything's gone swell. Just swell.
Gee, thanks, boss.
Thanks, boss. Fat Sam must have had quite a shock.
Quite a shot. Thanks, boss.
Thanks, boss.
Thanks, boss.
Thanks, boss. Laughing boy. Yonkers. Shoulders. Frank's Charlie. Benedict. Any moment now, Fat Sam will be crawling on his knees to me.
On his knees.
What's my file, boss? Yeah, soon old Fat Sam will have is the suit he stands up in and a suitcase full of memories. I don't have a file, boss. What'd I do, boss? You goofed, Doodle. You dropped a gun. And I don't allow mistakes in this outfit. 'Cause mistakes put us all in the caboose. And Sing Sing ain't my style. No, boss. Not that. Anything but that. I didn't mean to drop the gun. Just gotta slip down my hand. Button your lip, Doodle. You're all washed up. But, boss, give a guy a break. Get him.
But not only look at that scene, the way it's set up and everything. It's so reminiscent
it's just
of all
the
the
way-
gangster film. But the acting. These are
Yeah.
kids, inexperienced actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just the idea you could just who's mine?
I know. And you knew as soon
The
as
whole
he
idea of
tipped
it
him
was
over,
just-
I was like, uh-oh, he's toast.
it's just I thought that was one of the whole idea that you can just imagine the gangster how they would do it. It's the baseball bat scene from what was it Capone, the one with the baseball bat who's going
Yeah,
around telling
I think
everybody
that's from The
Untouchables
Untouchables.
and then
or
suddenly,
Capone.
boom, Capone.
I think it's The Untouchables, but I could be
It could have
wrong.
been the Untouchables, but that's the baseball bat scene in custard pie form. And it is, he's just basically there, he's going around giving them all flowers, and he's going, that's like the guy sitting there and all having a laugh and a joke. He's walking about with a baseball bat, and suddenly, plonk. That's what that reminded me of, that scene. And I just thought it was just so well done.
But because you brought up that particular scene, there is an amazing counterpoint, story-wise telling, when Fat Sam has to demonstrate kind of the same thing. If you recall, it's like, stand up,
Yes,
go to the corner. It's like, but it's not the
It's
same. And I'm
basically
trying to
saying
keep
how they were outgunned, as it were.
yeah, I'm trying to keep it spoiler free because I know we have audience that haven't seen it, but it's a really clever counterpoint to that scene.
Yeah. And it is, there's just even the bit where near the end he gives the speech, and it's a case of just go in there, keep those fingers going, and remember you're making history. And it's the same guy doing a speech, and you can just imagine he just comes out as this. I'm trying to think who he reminded me of. What male adult actor could do this scene in a Capone movie or a Untouchables or something like that? And I'm trying to think. It's the one that was in the Sting. The tall guy. He played one of the. I can't even remember his name. It's really annoying me. And it's him. It reminded me of him. I'll need to find the guy's name. Oh.
It definitely was the
And that-
Untouchables because I had a quick Google and there's gifs of oh my god, actor. Oh, I feel like I'm ashamed I can't think of his name. Robert De Niro plays Capone.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just trying to think of the one that was actually reminded me. Oh, it's Robert Shaw I was thinking of. You can just imagine Robert Shaw doing that role as this is Robert Shaw for those that are not entirely
Oh yeah, I
aware.
love Robert Shaw.
Yeah. Because you imagine Robert Shaw as an adult
Yeah.
playing the Dandy Dan. Can't you just see him playing that character? Yet this young boy played him in such a way. That's who I was thinking as an adult playing the Dandy Dan role in an adult movie, because you can just see him with that gravitas.
Yes, and Darren just pointed something out that reminds me in the chat. In that there is a line that's something about "Am I amusing you?" And because this was made all those years ago, and of course then it takes you to
Yes.
Goodfellas, where Pesci.
Where
And I
it's
wonder if it's a
Sam,
bit of a
I
homage
amuse you,
to
and it's a
yeah,
your flower boss, your flower. Yeah, I amuse you. Yeah, and it did. That's to me. It's almost like a case of did somebody see that and it actually just takes it to that next stage in a proper gangster movie, where rather than a kid friendly gangster movie.
It would not surprise me if this film, this version, the old kids version, did not influence, or at least make other filmmakers and creators and writers just like, "Oh, this is cool." It might be really, really subtle.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it's done, through and through. And this is definitely, from the get-go, a really well-planned film.
Yeah.
The background set, they're actually crafted smaller because kids are a little bit shorter than adults. So therefore, if you look at when they're opening a door handle, it's just a comfortable reach for a kid. Not like, oh, I'm reaching up and opening a door.
Everything's miniaturized. Yeah.
Exactly. The suits, the tables, the glasses, everything is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clever.
It was very well done. And as Guillermo says, the pedal cars, I wanted one of them.
Oh, I know. Those look so much fun.
I've so wanted a T-Ford pedal car. I still do. I still do.
Yeah, I if I get a chance to actually get one of those just to sit out my back, even if it would never move again. Oh, yes.
Imagine if someone comes around and is looking, that looks like an expensive car, and they're jumping in and getting ready to hijack. It's like, where's the engine?
I love it.
Have to pedal it. But
I know you don't have to worry about, refueling it. You just have to go and have lunch.
Exactly. They were environmentally friendly back in 1976.
Yeah. And do you know this? There was one part I always found hilarious in this, is when they were having the females singing. Like you had Bonnie Langford in this, she played round about the time when she used to play. Oh, what was her character? I'll screaming till I'm sick. And Just William. She
Is that the squeaky audition?
Yes, the bit where she's about to, where Blouse is about to sing, and then the star comes strutting in, Bonnie Langford, and she's doing her same voice as she did in the Just William TV show, where she played. Oh, what was her name? I can't even remember. Somebody will remember her name. The guys will in the chat will remember it. But in Just William, she always played the same character, and she always had a squeaky voice, now screaming. Violet as Elizabeth Scott. Thank you, Carl. But she always played. Violet was always. It was always. I'll screaming till I'm sick. And that's the fact is they used her singing voice in that, but for all the other girls, they used all the guys. It was all adult voices, so deadbeat. However, for the girls, they basically got an adult voice and made it very. My name is Paula. And it was just that's what they did. They did the speaker because you look at it when they're singing the Fat Sam's Grand Slam, where you've got Jodie Foster and the other girl sitting there, and they would come in with the lines. It was all the squeaky voice, same as Bonnie Langford's squeaky voice. They did that, and I think it's because at that time Bonnie Langford was probably one of the bigger names on it, because Jodie Foster and Scott Baio, I think they were known in America, yes, and Bonnie Langford was probably known a lot in the UK, but she was also a singer, whereas those two of them were actors, weren't really known as singers. So I think they
it was the
used
combination, but
template.
the Jodie Foster, Scott Baio, and Bonnie, they've been known for at least half a decade, not even, maybe even a full decade before this came out. And they were known. They were known that they had screen presence and everything.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm surprised by like the genuine quality just across the film.
I know. I said that to Darren when we were watching it. I said the acting performances are better than some adult actors that I've seen.
They definitely are. And that's what I was saying. There was some people in it I recognised. Even now, I recognise characters they played afterwards. Like obviously you had I keep going to say Fletcher Dexter, but it's Dexter Fletcher. He's been in a load of stuff. He's been in he was in the press room. It was when he was it was roughly about the same time Ant and Dec were coming on the scene in PJ and Duncan in Biker Grove. He was in the one. It was about a press room in a school. He played the American in the British school system, and he was in that. But there's also the guy who was in The Bill, Paul. I've got it here somewhere. Paul something or other.
Well, once you're hunting for that,
Andrew Paul, and he was in The Bill, so I recognised him when I saw this. I obviously didn't know him at the time, but when I saw him in The Bill, and I'm thinking, he was in Bugsy Malone. And it was things like that. So and obviously with Dexter as well, it's a case of tell Babyface to come along, tell Babyface to get there, tell Baby, oh, I'm Babyface. And when I first saw him in the next thing, I thought, that's Babyface for Bugsy Malone. And it was things like that. You were seeing people who had maybe had their first or second third role suddenly getting other roles, and you're going, Bugsy Malone. And it was that kind of thing. And that's why I like Bugsy Malone as well, because it was all kids. So this is a lot of them, it's the first movie. Like the guy who played Fat Sam, right?
he literally got recruited right out of a schoolroom.
Yeah, exactly. But you know how he got brought out of the schoolroom?
I'm not sure entirely. I heard the director went to the school
and says, who is the naughtiest person here? They all went, John Cassie. And he says, I want you to audition for Fat Sam. Because he wanted somebody who had that mentality to
bit of cheekiness and everything, and
Yeah.
it's a really well played role. But I was going to comment a little bit on, because we're still on the whole good acting, and Grandma Miranda has mentioned it in the chat, the dance routines. So if you look at it could have been anything. Look
God.
at the amazing.
That is one of my favourite songs in this. There's a lot of the songs are really, really good. Tomorrow,
Yep.
where it's the guy, he's cleaning up, and he's just, because he's Fat Sam keeps saying to him, come back tomorrow. So he's singing his song tomorrow, and he's got his tap dance, but it's the girl dancing to it. Yeah, I mean, if you're watching a movie, an adult movie, you would think she's really good, but as a kids movie, she's bloody fantastic.
Most of the
dancing was
action
great.
is, I think they had kind of like, they wanted a really narrow scope. We want kids that are 14 years old. We don't want just like a fresh teenager. We want someone that has just broken into teens. But we want them around 14 years of age. So if you look at, I believe Scott Bio and Jodie Foster both born 62. So by 76, they were 14 years old when this film came out. And if you look across the cast, most of them were pretty much around that 14 years.
Probably, aye.
But it's still quite amazing. You look at everything from acting, from talking, from behaving, from the mannerisms. And one of my favorite scenes in this is literally just a heartbeat long clip. It's in the bar with Bugsy and is Tallulah sitting there having ice creams and everything. And the bartender goes and he turns over the sign going from open to closed. And his facial expression, the demeanor and everything, it's a long day. I finally get to go home. It's a 14-year-old kid pretending like he's been at work for the last 30 years and just going and say, thank God, another day is done.
Yeah.
Oh,
The acting in this was absolutely, I would definitely have said, first class. You look at TV shows just now where they can't even pull off that quality of acting, because when you hear them, it's almost like, people say, it's like watching a high school or a secondary school stage production, because it's so amateurish. Yet there's people who were in that age group were doing top of the range acting. Do you know what I mean? So
that's it. I mean, they hadn't lived long enough really to have the experience that many, many other actors would have as adults. And they were superb. And whether it was in the directing and definitely in the casting, but whether it was the directing and what went on behind the scenes on the production side of things, I don't know. But boy, what a fantastic result they got.
Yeah, they definitely did. Even the dance routines, you could see the occasional one would maybe a wee bit over the top, like the girls in the Fat Sands grandstand. There's one of the girls, she seems to be dancing a wee bit more energetic than the rest. But that's expected, because even in adults you would have that. They're not all in complete synchronization. But you've also got the four gangsters. We could have been anything out we wanted to be. Same again, when they're doing bits, one or two of them are, one of them's a wee bit more energetic, whereas the other ones aren't. It doesn't go off, because you can just imagine that as a group of people who are up doing these things, they would nobody. It's not like where they would spend a month on each dance routine in other movies, big budget ones. So they're literally step by step, so there's nobody's legs out of line or stuff like that. It was almost a case of, you put them in there, they know the routine, and just have fun. And that's what it looked like. They were having fun with it. It's not as if a case of, no, we'll need to redo that again because your leg was a wee bit too much high and stuff like that. It was a case of, have fun, go ahead. You know the routine, go and do it, enjoy yourselves. And that's what it came across when they were doing the dance routines. They knew what they were doing, and they just seemed to be having fun. and nobody seemed to. If you're a wee bit energetic, fine, be as energetic as you want, enjoy yourself. And that's what came across in a lot of the dance scenes for me. It didn't seem. I've seen other ones where, like, one of my favourites is White Christmas. There's a lot of dance scenes in that. So when you see them dancing, literally all the girls' legs or all the guys' legs are almost identical. You can imagine how many times they filmed that or they practiced that so like that. And they don't look as if when they're dancing and they're smiling as if they're really enjoying themselves. It's just almost like a case of, "Happy Sayo, here we go." Whereas the girls and the boys in this, when they were dancing, just looked as if they were having fun. I wanted to join
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and maybe
it
that
was
was the trick.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that was part of the trick of getting the best performances out of them. I don't know, but boy, like I say, it's really impressed me. And again, I sort of was vaguely aware of it throughout my life, but I just never sought it out, never ran across it for any other reason. And again, I'm not one to seek out a musical per se, although I have a list of ones that I love, but that's because of who's in them as well.
For this one, I completely blame my mom, and she's dead. May she rest in Valhalla. But no,
Yes.
my mom, I was born at the very late end of the 70s, but she literally dragged me back through the 70s. All the books, all the TV shows, musicals, even back to the 60s and 50s, stuff that she grew up with. And
Yeah.
they stuck with me. Films like this one, it's just such a joy to watch it. I might have like the rose tinted glasses over here. I was a kid, I watched this, but I watched it today and it's like, this is a really solid film. And I tried to watch it being a little bit critical. Did they do any mistakes? Did they do this and this? And there are some plot hole points, but they're so easily overlooked by the quality of the acting, the performance, even the director of photography. If you take the pedal T-Ford car chasing, that's top-notch quality. It's action sequence that still holds up today. And it's what? It came out 76, so that's what, 44 years? My math is wrong, 46 years ago. I think you're on mute, PJ.
I was, because I was checking out the link ads I put in the chat. Bugsy Malone on YouTube. So there you go. It was just who was it? Colin had said he just found it on YouTube. So I went and searched and I found it and I put the link in the chat. That is
it looks to be the full film as well.
It does. 1 hour 29 minutes.
Yeah,
and
looks to be the full film.
So I just did a couple of clips. I had to put my mic on mute just to make sure it thing me. But that's why it was on YouTube mute, and I'm trying to remember what I'd said. Terrible. I can't even remember what I said. Listen,
I'd highly recommend it for anyone that hasn't seen it. No name mentioned, but even the musical songs, most of them are actually like really catchy tunes, and it's like amusing to listen to. It's not like you go to a musical and it's like, let's take Les Miserables. You go there to hear, you hear the people sing? That's the song everybody knows. There are a few other good ones.
One More Day is my favorite.
and
Javert's pieces as well. They're all wonderful.
Sorry, I know I constantly annoy her by just calling it Les Miserables. But it's not one of my favourites.
But we could go with these. Everybody wants the last song. There are a few good songs before.
Yeah.
But everybody wants the last song. And
to
if
me
you go
personally,
for a song,
yeah.
I'll finish quickly. If you go for a song in a film, Life of Brian.
Yeah.
Always look on the bright side of life.
But getting back to Les Mis, that musical literally blew me away when I first saw it, and I have it. I have a I had the DVD sound the CD soundtrack of the 10th anniversary stage, the operatic stage version, which was the Cameron McIntosh 10th anniversary concert, and I nearly wore it out. I mean, I love. There's pieces in it that I can't listen to too often because they're so melancholy. They make me cry. But there's so many. There's so many fantastic songs in it. But it's the whole production that I love. It isn't just the songs, and it isn't just the actors or the stage version, the operatic version of it. I've seen my father-in-law, who's just made of complete awesome, took me to see it one year down in Cardiff. We went to see it, and it was marvelous. No matter what the production is, it's one of those that actually physically changed me and changed my mind about some of the classical stories. But yeah, and yet there's other musicals that, again, it's not so much musicals for me per se. I haven't really, just to answer Archer's question, I haven't got necessarily a soft spot for musicals, but I have a soft spot for certain ones.
Yeah.
That have caught my attention.
Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I love Morecambe and Wise. I've got the movies, the Intelligence Men movies.
Oh, love them.
Not musicals at all. No singing in it at all. Just fun, just comedy. Where they, I do love Morecambe and Wise songs. I love the two Ronnies as well.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of the older blacks.
Yes, I also love the Dudley Moore and Peter Cook. Those are my favorites because of the corpsing.
Yes,
absolutely love it.
Do you like their Pete and Dudley or the other two? They do
Pete and Dudley.
A very. Would you class it as a very adult version where they just swear and it's all sexual jokes and
innuendos and things? Yeah,
they
were.
A lot of them aren't even innuendos. That's the problem, right? I might for a second. I'm having an issue with them.
Grand Moff is asking Derek and Clive.
Right, am I back?
I
was having an issue with my network, and I could see it was actually getting to the point, and it just seemed to flicker out for a wee second. So I had to actually fiddle around, and sometimes when I fiddle around, I can't get it. Fingers crossed, we won't lose connection. But
we'll push on.
What was your favourite song in this? I've already said mine's Tomorrow.
Could have been anything.
Do you know, having only just watched it for the first time tonight, I would have to go back and watch it again to be absolutely sure. But the one that the Grand Moff Miranda mentioned earlier was probably, off the top of my head, that was probably my favourite. I'm looking for the title of it now.
Well, you've got, You Could Have Been Anything That You Wanted to Be, Fat Sam's Grand Slam.
Fat Sam's Grand Slam, that's the one.
Fat Sam's Grand Slam. Speak easy.
Yeah. And then the other one that you mentioned, PJ, as well. Those two are probably my favorites.
Whereas mine is Tomorrow. I just think that it's because of the dance scene as well. I think the two of them go quite well, and it's like sometimes you like White Christmas. The one that takes me out is when Danny Kaye's doing the modern dance in the movie. It takes me out. It takes me out in a bad way because it sort of sits there in the middle of the rest of the fantastic movie, and that's the one that I can go. Whereas in this one, it takes me out in a good way because you've got this hilariously funny comedy musical, and then you've got this song which is so emotive in the middle of it. it takes me out in a good way. Whereas that part itself is just an amazing part, and I can sit and
Well,
watch that because it
i-
actually takes you out in a good way.
in that case, I'm going to take a slight stab at your Italian heritage then, because there is a fourth wall breaking scene in this. Fat Sam to Knuckles, and Fat Sam is saying something Italian, and Knuckles is going, "I don't speak Italian," and he's essentially just going, "Well, read the subtitles,"
Yes.
and then you get the
What do you mean you
subtitles in the
don't speak Italian? I'm Jewish, boss. Yeah, read the subtitles. So yes, it does take you out, but it's takes you out. That's what I'm saying.
It's
The rest of the movie,
cleverly
it's got
used.
really good fun parts in it, good musicals and stuff like that. Whereas Tomorrow is quite emotive, and it takes you out in a good way. So it's one that you're having a laugh and a joke, and then they're singing that in the dance. It takes you out. You forget it's comedy you're in because it's such a good song and dance routine. That's what I was meaning about it takes you out. Whereas, and it's what my favourite Christmas movie ever. There's that part with Danny Kaye doing the modern dance, which takes me out in a bad way. Whereas I could skip that in every single time, no problem.
Mhm.
But whereas this, I could rewatch that every single time again and again and again because
Mhm.
it's so good. Because it takes you out the movie, and the movie's great. It shows you how good the song, and the dance were. And do you know another thing as well? Considering when it was made, it could have been made. It's a type of movie you could see being made today and see not being made today because a lot of the characters, male, female, black, white, there's Chinese people and all that,
That was the point I was actually going
very,
to bring
very
up. Did
diverse.
you see the
There's,
diversity of the cast?
that's
Black,
what I'm saying.
Asian,
And
Italian,
yeah,
Spanish.
yes, they have a wee bit of fun with bits and pieces here and there, but considering it's a kids' movie, it was just done. Like the boxing scene. So you wanna be a boxer?
But before we hit to the boxing scene, I love Leroy Smith's introduction. So he saves
Yes.
Bugsy from a situation, and Bugsy has tons of questions to ask him, and Leroy Smith is basically just answering, nope,
No,
nope,
no,
nope,
no,
nope,
no.
nope,
Don't know much, do you? No.
nope.
But yeah, Leroy is absolutely amazing, and it is as you said. So Jim, what's your favourite song in it?
As I said, we could have been. What was the title? We could have all been something.
You could have been anything that you
Could have
wanted
been
to
anything. Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Just
Which
because the
is sung it's sung
choreography.
twice it's sung twice in it.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it's
But
see this the twice they sang it. What was the change?
I do not have. I haven't seen it that much, so I can pick out those
They only
details.
changed a couple of one word.
Someone could have
No,
been someone rather than anyone.
no. Because remember, we could have been anything what we wanted to be, and then a part of it we're bad guys. And
Oh, right.
the song
Oh,
we could have been anything that we wanted to be, and it's good guys.
Ah, that's
It's because
interesting.
the song at the end, it's basically more of an upbeat and all get together. So we should have been anything that we wanted to be, and we want to be good guys rather than we're bad guys.
because
See, I told you I've seen this
I did
more than
not
once.
clock on that tiny detail, and it might be a tiny detail for you guys, but if you look at the choreography and the dancing and everything, you have four guys doing the whole dancing routine, but they're distinctly different in heights. You
Mhm.
can literally see like there is a good 2 inches between everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way they move together and everything. And it actually brings me back to a cartoon I used to read as a kid called Lucky Luke.
Mhm.
And you had the Dalton boys, which had the same thing. You had a really super tall guy, then you had a less tall guy, and then you had medium tall guy, and then you had a midget. But Lucky Luke is obviously the fastest shooter in the West and everything. And they're coming out of a saloon and walking down the steps. But the tall guy is walking first and the medium and everything. So they all become aligned. Lucky Luke just shoots one shot and clips the cowboy hats of each of them. It's that kind of clever choreography that I really drew from this. And it's like just so lovely to see it. And they're actually moving around, and suddenly it's like you see this perfect alignment of their heights and everything.
Yes.
It's just so really well made.
And even in the middle of the songs or dances, they have fun with it as well. The bit when they're singing, could have been anything that it wants to be at the beginning, the four of them. Look at me, I'm dancing. When he's trying to sidestep the woman and woman and man. He's trying to sidestep them to go on to continue, and that's the part. Look at me, I'm dancing. And it's taking the mickey of when you're trying to pass somebody. Excuse me. You want to dance, or we just go do this all day? That kind of thing. It's the joke, and it's the playing the joke.
But even at the end of the song, so you know the guy carrying the mat and the rug and the suitcase and everything.
That
even
was a
he's
funny
going.
scene.
He's dancing. He wasn't part of the main dance, but he's like dancing, following you and everybody else.
Do you know? I'm glad you mentioned that scene, Jim, because that one really stuck with me, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was just a funny little touch, with him sort of moping along behind them in tune, and the rug is sort of like dragging behind him. That was really, really good.
And what was the dance they were doing?
I don't know.
It's the sand dance. See the bit when they were the Egypt dance? That's the sand dance it was called. That was made famous by
the
two guys and a girl. What was
I know
their
what
name?
you mean, yeah.
You're
It was
not
the
talking
sand
about
dance.
something like no. This was a lot later. It's not Walk Like Egyptian. It's an earlier one.
You're thinking of Steve Martin, when he was doing stand up, had done his own sort of comedy song called King Tut, and he did that funny sort of movement, with his neck and things. So I don't know. That's what I think of, because that's sort of where I grew up. That was my first exposure to that sort of dancing.
Yeah. Well, it's basically the old Wilson, Kipple, and Betty. That's who it was. They initially made it, but there's been people copying it throughout. See if I can find a clip of it. See. It's in effect, it's from this there, it's there.
And by the way, Walk Like an Egyptian is a fabulous song. I love that song.
Like an Egyptian. I don't like music, but I've always been
that's such a fantastic song.
Right, here it's here, because I'm obviously not going to play the music or anything like that, because I've got it on mute. But in effect, that's it there. That's this is the part where they're doing the stand dance, and you can see from here, this part, where they take that part from the movie.
Ah, right, okay.
So in the movie, that's the bit when they're doing the sand dance. So they're taking bits of that with the movements, and it's from that. So that just basically takes a wee bit.
Nice little touch.
Wilson, Keppel, and Betty, and the three of them made that famous. But it's that kind of thing.
This is 1933.
Wow.
We got another 6 years before World War II even begins.
Yeah. But that, even to me, I remember that, seeing it. I've seen multiple people doing the sand dance. She's talking about Bruce Forsyth, I'm sure, did it at one point. You've seen it in different movies here and there. It's that they made it famous, and since then it's been more and more.
Well, I can't speak for today's kids. When I grew up, everybody knew that kind of movement and connected it to Egyptian kind of.
Yeah.
Not disrespectful, as they would say today, cultural appropriation.
Yeah, of course not. It was just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly didn't come away with any sort of, biases or anything like that.
But it's something I actually clocked just today. and I say it with great sadness. I only clocked today watching Bugsy Malone. I haven't seen it in the last 6 or 7 years. It was only today that I realized, hang on, black actors, Asian actors, there are strong
Yeah.
female role models. And it's like, I don't want to think about these things watching a film. And I never did watching this film over the years.
No,
I think you're
exactly.
on mute again, PJ. But go ahead, Wen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not something that we thought about, and it was just done. It was just a mixture of different types of people and young people, and it just I was funny. It's funny because when I was watching it, that did go through my mind as well a few times, and I thought, "Ooh, would they even allow this to be made today? And would it?"
They
Would it
because
pass through
considering how
the
diverse
cultural
it is, they
appropriation
wouldn't
filters?
exactly because when they go to the Chinese laundry,
Well,
Yeah,
not
that would
even
never
that.
be there.
If you look at the film that when this was made, 1976, I can guarantee you 99.999% of the people on Twitter complaining about, oh, you never see this has never happened before. Their parents weren't even born in 76.
Yeah, and the thing is as well. See, when I first saw that, it was just a load of kids singing and dancing. I loved it.
Yeah,
See now,
exactly.
when I rewatched it yesterday and today, the first thing I thought was this could never be made because of this, but also this looks like something that could be made today because of they're constantly screaming about diversity. So I never thought about it when I was 11. It's only because of these nutcases that make you think that.
Yeah.
yeah,
All these
Which takes
racists telling
away
you
from
that you're
from the
racist, they're basically trying to turn you into a racist by telling you you're racist, by pointing out things that you never noticed before because it was just people.
well, that's the thing. I mean, we laugh at all manner of nationalities if they're funny, and if the
Yeah,
comedy is funny and it's well meant. And again, it's not just laughing at a particular race that's doing the comedy. It's laughing at the comedy,
yeah, because the
and
comedy
and
takes
the
a
rest is
stereotypical look at it.
incidental.
Yeah, you look at them going for an English. You seen that one from Goodness Gracious Me, the comedy show.
I don't
One
think
of the
I've seen that
I
one,
funniest.
but
don't
I
think
think
I've
I know
seen
which
that.
one you're referring to.
Yeah. Well, it's basically they're taking the mickey out of the English people who would go for an Indian and say, "I'll have a paper, I'll have an onion writer, a paperback writer, and stuff like that," and take the mickey. So they're going for an English. Get me something very bland and uninteresting. What your favourite and stuff like that, and they're calling them James instead of James because they're taking the piss how people actually act when they go to an Indian because they can't pronounce things, so they make up certain words or they mispronounce it sometimes deliberately. So they've made a sketch which takes that, turns it on its head. It's one of the funniest sketches I've ever seen. Going for an English,
Oh,
it's
when it
hilariously
comes
funny.
to taking a little bit of the Mickey, when it comes to the, shall we say, um, country cultures, Rowan Atkinson,
Yeah,
single stand-up, acting as a server in an Indian restaurant to a bunch of drunk football hooligans.
well, you look at some of the early Scottish. Everybody was wearing a kilt with their Glengarry with a big feather, and it was on biscuit tins. Believe it or not, we don't all actually dress like that, but we also don't get offended when people actually portrays as
I've
dressed like
been
that
to
because we
Scotland
see it as
several
funny.
times. All of you are wearing it,
Uh-huh.
even the dogs.
I have got a kilt in the room.
I've worn a kilt 3 times, so I'm kind of slightly guilty to it as well
The
because
thing is,
it was.
I own my own kilt and outfit. My brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, actually used to wear one daily, but it's not something you see across the board. But
Yeah.
the thing is, we also don't get offended if people say, "Ah, everybody in Scotland wears kilts." We actually don't. That's like turning around saying everybody in England wears a pinstripe suit. We know it's a stereotype. We know it's just there because they just take it as a silly thing and actually make the joke with it. 'Cause they do it in Scotland
I'll
as well,
give you a
make
slight
jokes about
twist
it.
on that. I'm not sure if you thought of it this way. The stereotype we have where I grew up, Scottish are wearing kilts, yes.
Mhm.
Usually
Do
a
you want me to
white
get my
shirt.
hat out again? Do you want me to get my hat out again?
No. But then you're carrying around a massive tree trunk just because of the Scottish Games, because you have that where you're throwing a tree trunk. But that's
Yeah.
more like the Viking. Also, like, that's a really amazing lad. It's like big, tall, strong. Yeah, he's wearing a skirt, but we'll discount that. It's kind of that
Not a
becomes
skirt.
but that is kind of the thing that becomes the Mickey taking of it. It's like tall, strong lad. He's carrying a massive tree trunk, but he's wearing a skirt. That's when it becomes like it flips on its edge. But no, a kilt is not the skirt, and I can vouch for that because I've worn kilts, and
He's worn a
they
skirt.
they are very lucky when the temperature is really warm when you can
But-
dance.
Right, I'm going to play this because Colin sent it, and it's only 7 seconds, but this is what I remember growing up. All right.
If you don't shut up, speak without being spoken to, we'll shut you out.
If you do, I'll scream and scream and scream until I'm sick, and I can.
If you don't shut up, speak without being
That basically, I remember that from when I was a kid watching Just William, Bonnie Langford. I was screaming, till I'm
That was her, yeah.
yeah. Because when she first came on Doctor Who, or Bugsy Malone first, I'd seen her on after she'd done, and I recognised her. So she was at Bonnie Langford. I knew
Darren
who
did as
she
well.
was.
Darren picked her out, but I didn't I
Yeah.
didn't realise.
Yeah, but it is the same again when she was on Doctor Who. Is that all I thought was, is she going to say, I'll scream it, tell him tick? Because obviously that was her most famous as Violet. By the rules of wokeism, going for an English should be extremely racist and offensive, but we all know it only goes one way. It's
Well,
true, and the thing is, they did it to show how silly it is by doing the opposite.
That is along the line of what John Cleese said about London.
Yeah,
I go to London, but I don't see an English city. He didn't say anything racist. He just said, there is very little here I would recognize as English. There's no pubs with a beer garden. There is no people walking hand in hand along the Thames and greeting people politely. You could translate London easily to New York. I've been in New York twice. And I kind of agree with that kind of sentiment.
I know what you're saying, Jim, and I think that the irony, that's it. It's like when I traveled from the States to the UK back in the late 90s, that was the reason we went to the UK. We wanted to experience what we understood as UK culture. We wanted to have the experience of that and to be able to appreciate the differences and to really immerse. And that's what always made the UK a very popular destination in the States, because, you know, we all had this fascination with it growing up. So I understand without, you know, going into any sort of drama. I understand the point that was trying to be made there, you know. So yeah.
But it's the same with me. I know, and I'm not sure if because I'm more grown up now or because cities has changed so massively, but I could take my savings and basically bunny hop, and I could go from Stockholm to Oslo to Helsinki to Riga to Warsaw to Berlin to London to New York to Florida. I would see exactly the same things in each of these locations. But if you do go the countryside, where it is less metropolitan, like less very, shall we say, generic. Because if you go to any big city now, you have Starbucks, McDonald's, Domino's Pizza. I'm not complaining, but if I want to experience a country's culture, I know I cannot go to the capital or the
Yeah.
larger cities.
It's the same as me as well. I've always wanted to experience American culture. I've been to the States twice, 2 cities, but to me that doesn't experience American culture because the city is different. Even I'm aware, if I want to experience Scottish culture, I'm not going to go to Glasgow or Edinburgh. I might go up north where, same again, nobody wears kilts, but it's a more, it's not
Culturally
culturally,
recognizable.
yeah, and it's not as heavily populated. It's the
Yeah.
same as if I wanted to get English culture. I would rather go to a small,
Cotswolds or places up
yeah,
that way.
or no, Berwick upon Tweed. Try to think, Avon,
I have a
Stratford.
very tiny village.
Stratford
It's
upon Avon.
very
I would rather go
accessible
there
from
than
London.
to one of the big cities because yeah, it's a small, it's a town. It's not a wee teeny village. It's a town, but it's still got the Englishness around it.
But
Yeah.
a small, I don't think it's really a hidden gem. I believe it's got heavy connectivity to Churchill and everything, but it's called Westerham. And if you ever get into London, it's basically an hour maximum on the bus. I think it's just 40 minutes, but it's like a small hamlet buried in the green part of England, really buried. But it's got fantastic pubs, friendly people. Doesn't have any beach resorts or anything. It's got some good pubs. It's an easy visit to go to. But when I go there, it's like, wow, this is really British. Everything I see from statues to the way the roads are, to the houses,
Yeah,
the way people act in pubs.
Do you know what I love is the way it's represented in Still Game. It's about diversity, but it's the diversity that has always been there in effect. It's just people. It's just people cohabitating with each other who have slightly different personalities and
yeah.
customs and things like that. And it's just that human
I'll give you an
comedy that
example about how
results.
still using still game. I'll give you an example how these nutcases that go on about racial equality or whatever are wrong. Do you know who one of the most favourite characters in that show is?
Mina.
Mina. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love Mina.
Everybody does. See, when I went to see it on stage, right? They did the bit. They were. I've seen it twice on stage, 2 different shows, but the first one, right? So you've got Naveed. He's sitting away up in the gods, going round selling binoculars and tins of beans and stuff like that to everybody because they're so far up and they couldn't afford the decent seats, right? And then you've got so everybody cheered at that. Then you've got somebody on stage said something, and then you hear in the background, no, it's nah. So they've got the Neds up in the balcony shouting at them, abusing them, and you get the cheer. And then they were doing a singing and dancing part at the end, and Mina come on with a Robbie Williams board round her face, and you should have heard the bloody cheer because Mina come on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
literally all the other ones
exactly.
got a cheer, but when Mina came on, even though she was only on for a wee bit and she had her face all covered with a Robbie Williams placard,
I mean,
and
we
she's
were in
one of my
pain.
most favourite characters because she comes across with some of the best lines.
Oh, I know. I mean, we were physically in pain from laughing. We were. I love that show so much,
Yeah,
and
but according to this modern West thing,
oh god,
we all hate Nina and Naveed.
and they were they're just such lovely characters,
Yeah,
and
and you look at even the way they were taken
but
in
they
by the
reflect
cast
real
at
life,
yeah. You look at how they were taken in by the cast as well. So when they first came in to Scotland, the guys were teaching Naveed, right? Yeah, Dobber, yeah, Bob bag, and they're teaching them all these things, all these Scottish phrases. They're not actually taking the mickey out of them or going on about them. They're just actually teaching them phrases to say to the other guys because they want to say it to him, but they can't. But it's him no understand that he can say it without like mate, but it's become his thing after that. He knows what he's saying, but he still says it because He learned it from.
I think it's about nobody being above a
ridicule.
bit of a piss take.
Yes.
You know,
And
I mean, we all have to learn to laugh at ourselves. Otherwise, you just walk around, you know, an absolute bag of angry unpleasantness all the time. You have to be able to, you know, to do that. And I think that's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what race you are. You know, as long as everyone is being treated, you know, and having a bit of the piss taken out of them, then it's fine.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Be it being given the spotlight or being given the piss take. Yeah.
I agree fully, but I will say, of all the places I've been, maybe New York does have a little bit more cheek with the FU butthole kind of stereotype that's given. I'd never heard it being in New York, but they do have a little bit of familiar cheekiness. But when it comes to all across Britain, and I've been Scotland, Ireland, Wales, multiple times, it seems to be seeping through everything on this island. Is you're not above having a little bit of cheek or having the piss taken out of you.
But that's another thing as well. It's like I'll kind of the joke up a bit, but usually the swear words are slightly stronger. But I'll kind it up. It's the same as the old joke. Guy walks into a pub. Yous are all idiots. Yous are all fools. The guy goes, "Hey, I'm not an idiot." He says, "Get out there then."
Yep.
Hell of a lot stronger swear words and all that, but
I don't consider the British swear words to be that.
A pub and said that, people wouldn't get offended. They would laugh as soon as that line. Hey, I'm not one of them. We'll go over there then. People would laugh. Doesn't matter where they were sitting. They would find that hilarious. It's just somebody's taking the mickey, and it's somebody's fell for it because you are allowed to take the mickey out of people. Hey. And we all are aware, so we might have been the ones that are sitting there getting called this and getting called that. We would have been okay with it because we take it in the humour it was done.
Yeah. Well, if that ever happened in a pub, I would just take another swig of my Guinness and just chuckle.
There is a difference. I mean, we have had the unfortunate experience of being in a pub that was technically in Wales, but that had a distinctly English clientele. And it wasn't a question of us even noticing that until we suddenly realized that we were being not, it wasn't about piss take. It was very disingenuous. It was a real disingenuous shittiness that started up, and you know, and one person and another person, you know, would say,
it's a case of knowing how to adjust to it.
And to be honest,
idiot.
And that really did put us off because again, you're not getting the sense that you're in a welcoming atmosphere. You get the sense that you're in a very pompous, or we did it that in that particular pub, it was a very sort of pompousness and a disdain, you know, and we were just made to feel like these sort of poor cretins that sort of wandered in, and basically harangued until we just were so horrified that we left. That's different.
Yeah.
And that I would object to with regard to whoever it was happening to. That's not on.
Yeah, but there's also sometimes you go into a pub and you feel out of place. I told you about the time with my dad, didn't I? When he was in the army. One of his friends had come up with him, Geordie, and he'd come up to Scotland because he'd want to go to Scotland, and they'd all got leave, and my dad said, just come up, you can stay with us, and that way you can. So he'd go into the pub with my dad and my granda, and he turns around and goes, Jock, come on, there's going to be a fight, we need to get out of here. First thing my dad and my granda went, where? He says, over there, and over there. And he says, no. He's turning around and saying, listen, you prick, shut up, and what do you want to drink? And our two are over there arguing, no, Celtic's better than Rangers because of this. You're just putting a load of pish. And then over there's two guys arguing about something. but they're all still sitting drinking. He says, no, that's called Scottish banter. So it's because you've got people. There's three different situations. One, you go in, you can have a laugh and a joke, and everybody understands it's a laugh and a joke, so don't get offended. You got ones where you've got a load of tosspots just treating people like crap. Then you've got other ones where you go in, and if you can't read the situation, you feel out of place. I mean, I've done that. I've worked in a place, and I would laugh and joke with people, and you could see them all sitting there going. And it's because I just basically laughed and joked with everybody. I didn't care. So if somebody's not got a sense of humour, it's not going to change who I am. But I know some people
I
can get
find that
uncomfortable
particular
with that.
situation really sad because, yes, at work, I have people I've worked with for the last 3, 4, 5 years now. And we know each other so well. We can take the mickey out of each other, take the piss out of each other. We're bantering, gossiping about X, Y, and Z that we like, whether it's old films, heavy metal music, all of that. But I've also seen the other side, and I've been at Comic Cons and everything, and literally stood in like a massive crowd next to a person being overwhelmed by an act that's been going on for the last 6, 7 years. Most of the crowds, most of the regulars are in on the joke. They understand exactly what's going on. But they're coming and saying, oh, I don't understand anything of this. I hate this. Why is everybody chanting this word? Why is everybody cheering at this sign? Stuff. It's like, oh, I'm not going to go here anymore. It's like, no, stay. Be a little bit patient. Listen. Read the room. Join in.
That's another thing about Comic Cons and fandoms. Come in and join in. We want to share. We want to talk about it. Don't come in and tell us it's wrong and try and change it because we'll ignore you.
But exactly, and that's the largest complaint they have. It's like, oh, I just discovered Dungeons and Dragons. Has been out since 74 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've still got the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons somewhere, and
exactly, and you have hundreds of thousands of people that have lived through the entirety of this. You are on week 1 of trying to experience this, and you're telling someone that is a 40-year veteran, knowing inside and out, no, it's my way, not your way. Yeah, you have 40 years. I don't care. Go away. You're wrong. That is kind of that perception. I think that's so completely wrong because this is why they say it's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
You don't have gatekeeping. Anyone can watch Bugsy Malone. I'm not stopping you. Is any one of you stopping him?
And the thing is, the good thing about a movie like this, not Brian Young had said he does not like it because of a bad experience with it. I didn't say he was wrong for not liking it because of a bad experience. I like it because of a good experience as well. However, if somebody says, I don't like it, it's not my type of movie, fine. What other movies do you like? We'll talk about them instead. We don't turn around and say, well, I'm not talking to you. Go away. No, come in.
Block, ban. Hey, Twitter support, can you ban this person? They like Bugsy Malone.
Yeah.
So like, what in the world are you going on about?
Yeah, you see. The thing is, when I was watching it, I was sitting there watching it, enjoying it, thinking the left would have an issue with that because the boxing scene. They've got one guy who, when they're doing the singing, he's basically just punching and doing all the what they call it shadow boxing because he was fast and he looked fit as hell, but. He was a colour guy. Could you imagine what the left would say nowadays? Oh, you've just had him there just because he looks violent. No. Out of all the people there, he looked the fittest and he looked as if he knew how to box because he was fast. So you could understand why he was doing it. But that's what I'm saying. It's nowadays they put those stupid thoughts in your head. We know why he was there. He had the muscles to make it look as if he was a boxer. And B, he was fast. So when he was doing the shadow boxing, it looked fast. and it looked as if he knew what he was doing. Whereas the other ones, you could just imagine they've been brought in the scene. There was two of them probably knew what they were doing because there was a boxing match going on, and the two of them were boxing. And one of them was meant to be the one with the glass jaw, so the other one is obviously going to be the one they've shown doing the fast moves. So you can't have the guy with the glass jaw being the one that's punching and being meant to be the one. I'll scare him. Let me have him, Joe. That type of thing. So you couldn't have them. But the fact is, the two ones that were boxing, yes, although they were black, they actually looked like boxers. The rest of them didn't. Even Leroy didn't look like a boxer until he actually hit the guy.
We know the hiring requirements of this film. The casting director just went in like you would at one point, I knew he went into a school and said, well, we're looking for young actors and everything. But no, he actually took the step further and go, who's the naughtiest boy in this room? That was casting requirement. Couldn't care less of any other attributes. Who's the mischief in this room? I want you to audition.
So when they were doing the boxing scene, they've got anybody know boxing?
No.
And that's the type of thing. It's a case of, right, you know how to box, right? We want you for this scene, but I would like to audition for another part scene, but because you know that, we want to make it look as legit as possible. And I think that's what it is. And it's also, when they're doing it, they're still, even that boxing scene, it's only that 2 minutes?
Yep.
It goes on. And even that was a fun scene to watch. Because there's Leroy. He's wanting to get out here. And then he's in the ring and this guy's going, he's going, donk. And that's him. The guy sparkled out. yeah, he'll do. You know what I mean? And it's that kind of thing, the whole attitude of nobody's actually saying, oh, because of this or because of that. It's just a case of people are boxers because if you enjoy boxing, we don't really care. We'll train you up, even if you're never going to actually box in the ring. Maybe it's just for fitness. You're wanting to actually box just to give yourself a bit of a routine. We'll train you up to do it. You might be glass jaw, so you're no good, but we'll still let you come. We'll still let you go in the ring. You just need to learn not to actually take a punch. And that's the thing. I love Bugsy for so many different things. I love it for the comedy aspects of it. I love it for the gangster aspects of it. I love it for the silliness. I mean, the bit with all the custard.
The concept, the overall concept with the custard guns and that kind of thing, and bringing back or bringing down, shall we say, the bloody violence. If you compare to Scarface and
Knuckles
and all that. But I would actually pit this film across any gangster film. People say Godfather is the best gangster film there is. Just going.
No.
Have you seen
Godfather's
this one?
the most gritty gangster movie there is. I think this is the most fun.
But overall quality for being gangster story and everything, this one is so up there with the rest of them because it's got amazing visual shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Performance per actor.
Yeah.
I mean, these are 14, 15, maybe 16-year-old kids. I don't know the
I think some of them are even younger because you've got Dexter Fletcher. He looks about 9 or 10.
But compare them to Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, even Joe Pesci, all of these really well-known, like monster Italian guys. And I will say Joe Pesci is surprisingly not appearing in as many Italian mobster guy films as I thought he would. Check out his IMDb.
Uh-huh.
He has very few compared to his.
I still say Joe Pesci's a lot more underrated as a comedy actor. Like, you've got Home Alone,
Yes,
but you
I
look
definitely.
at My Cousin Vinny. Oh my
Love
God!
that film. We need to
It
talk
is
about that one night.
absolutely amazing. My Cousin
Love
Vinny
it.
is just so good. Yeah, I mean, initially you think he's going to get beat up with a Karate Kid sitting in the cell.
Yes, Ralph Macchia. Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's just one of those movies that it's unexpected. The Judge, Herman Munster.
Yeah.
Yes, Fred Gwynn. Yes,
it's
absolutely.
basically it's
Utes.
just so much fun.
What is a ute?
What's the Ute? And you saw the suit I had on. Remember you? I mean, well, this town only one cleaner, and it's closed on a Saturday. So this is the only suit I could get.
Oh, that film is so good. It's just so great. And Marissa Tomei is brilliant in it as well.
Oh, she's amazing, is it?
The
mechanic, no, I'm a hairdresser.
I still have a crush on the lady. It's like that.
She's gorgeous, isn't she? Yeah.
She is gorgeous, and she manages to convey role well across everything. Even as Aunt May, I was just going to say, you're not really Aunt May in Spider-Man.
She wasn't old enough.
No, but there is another actor that really just crushes my heart, and that's Rachel Weisz.
Oh yes, she's in The Mummy, isn't she?
She's in The Mummy.
Brendan
That's
Fraser.
what really sold me.
See, the first two movies she was in, and the three of them together were fun. What was his name as well?
But the thing that recalled me to Rachel Weisz, and specifically The Mummy, is if you look at the first The Mummy film with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, I keep forgetting what her brother's name is.
I can't remember his name either.
He's in Spartacus as well, and doing
he plays the owner.
The owner, the dojo. It's not dojo. It's but it's such fantastic acting coming from, and I don't think the crush is because they're pretty. It's because they can actually play a role that you would relate to. You would understand their emotions, where they are, how they want to have everything. If you take Rachel Weisz in The Mummy, a geeky librarian girl that wants to see the world. Hey, I'm right there with you. I also want to see the world. I may not know everything you know, but hey, I want to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got another clip from Bugsy.
Go on then.
This is Fat Sam and Knuckles. All right, let's see if I need to remember and share the sound this time. Right, remember this one? Knuckles scene. So here we go. I've tried putting the sound on, Peter. That actually worked.
Oh,
I was just going to say no audio. Go ahead.
Why is the sound not coming up? Come on. It's being silly buggers. Hold on, I need to stop it and start it again. I hit the mute, but because you put the share, it actually hides that bottom part, so you can't put the sound back on. So here we go again. Take two. Suppose for me taking the second attempt. Right. So here it's here.
Are you sure this is gonna work, boys? Of course it'll work. Looks like a splurge gun, doesn't it? Good. You sure though, boy. Nonsense. Anything Danny Dan can do, I can do better. You know that. All right, Knuckles, you ready? Ready. Don't do that. Sorry, boys. All right, take aim. Ready. Set.
He runs over there first.
Missed. It's back to the drawing board, Knuckles. Knuckles.
But it is the half and half of this where I so love the custard pie. Because as an adult, you look back at it, it's like, that's actually supposed to be all that gore and really horrible thing.
It was really clever to use the custard pie because, you know, it just completely removes all that.
Yeah, and the good thing is as well, even as you were saying about the drinks earlier, the fact is, when they go in and they wreck all the drinks, he goes, "What? They got the sarsaparilla as well." So he's effectively turns around and says, "See all those things you thought they were actually meant to be drinking alcohol? It's just soft drinks because they got the sarsaparilla racket and stuff like that." So it's like they got the grocery racket as well. So it's not like drugs and alcohol; it's groceries and sarsaparilla, and it's so they take a lot of the adult themes out, and the custard pies does that for the guns. Because you can imagine now they would do it with paintballs or something like that, or BBs or something to still make it look similar. So let the, maybe a paintball so you can get bang, 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 and it's a case of oh. But whereas that they did it with the custard, and it just plays into it in a big way because they've been got. So, but I think it's just the way they've done the whole thing. It makes it so entertaining.
It is. It really is. And that's the bottom line with this film. I think it's just entertainment. It's pure entertainment. Whether you like musicals, you don't like musicals, you know, it has quite a few musical numbers in it, which initially, when I realized that, I was just like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to really enjoy this. But I loved it. But I loved it because I was just entertained. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have to love every single musical number, but as Jim was saying earlier, the acting, the set designs,
Yeah.
you know, the photography, the cars were awesome. You just can't help but have a really good time watching it. At least that's how it affected us. We really enjoyed it.
I'll tell you this, right? When I was growing up, we used to do the silly things. Yeah, everybody used to try and make a go-kart and stuff like that, but we would always try and do a
Oh
bit
God, yeah.
silly, right? So prior to Bugsy Malone, Dad's Army was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And there was the big, you used to get the big enormous bins. There were something like 5-6 foot tall metal bins with the two hooks that the truck would come up, lift it, and tip it up. But the guys would take the lid off it, and the lid was a big circular lid with a lid inside that the parents would pop up. They would put the bin in, and so you couldn't take the bin rubbish out because unless it was on a stand, you were on a stand, you couldn't put it in. We got one of those lids, and from that we tried to build a Dad's Army tank because we now had a circular thing with a lid. When Bugsy Malone came out, we tried, instead of making a go-kart, to make a Bugsy car. It was dire, and we managed to sort of crash it because it kept falling apart. Just trying to put 4 wheels down to 1 wheel with a pedal and try to build this thing around it. Really work, especially when you're using heavy wood. The only wood you can get is about that thick, and you're nailing it all together. But it's that type of thing. We would try silly things, and we tried to build one, but we couldn't do it. One weekend we tried it, and we realised that every time we were actually on it, it would literally crash and tip over because it was so heavy. And we couldn't actually get all the bits of metal together because we didn't know what we were doing. We're just getting wheels and
Just having a laugh. Yeah, exactly.
We tried to build one of those, and it was because it was so iconic. And it's the same idea. We tried to build a Dad's Army tank, as in a car with this circular thing because we got it from the bin. But it's silly things like that, and they became. It's to me, the Bugsy Malone's cars are as iconic as the General Lee kit.
No. The Bugsy Malone cars are just as iconic as the DeLorean from Back to the Future.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The General Lee kit, the DeLorean, to me, they're as iconic as any of the other cars. You can think of a car, you'll know the TV show. So if somebody says Echo On, you know you're talking about Ghostbusters. Somebody says the General Lee, you're talking about Dukes of Hazzard. Somebody says Kit, you know, we're talking about Right Rider. Somebody says DeLorean, you automatically think of Back to the Future. Somebody says a motorcycle car, Bugsy Malone. It's that type of thing to me. It's as iconic for the show as everything. But it's the same as the spludge gun. So if you had Han Solo's blaster, you know whose it is. If you've got an the kit from Alien, where you got Martinez with the thing. You know it's from Alien. These ones, the spludge guns.
The thing is, for me, Bugsy Malone, this version, because this is obviously a version retold, but with all kids, I cannot see the, shall we say, old gangster films where they're using a Tommy gun without thinking, oh, is that bullets or is it custard pie?
Yeah.
It's because it's so
It does sort of make you.
and the actual shape and size and the fact that it's like the big round magazine and everything, it's like,
yeah,
it could be customs in there. Just shooting. Could be. It's such clever play on the props.
And it works because it's children in essence, doing it. It's
exactly,
and the custard pie is perfect because it right away takes away that complete thing that would just take you right out of it. You couldn't possibly have any scenes like that in a film with children.
Exactly.
Even though they're portraying adults, you just couldn't do it. So this was just such a great solution to that, and it will stay with me. This film. Am I going to go out and probably buy a copy of it? Personally speaking, probably not, but not because there's anything wrong with the film, just because it's not. I might watch it, I might pick it up on on a service over the years, and watch it. But that's just me. But I did enjoy it immensely, and I would definitely recommend it
for the DVD.
What's that? Say again?
eBay, £2.20 for the DVD.
That's a steal. Yeah, that is a steal. Like I said, I don't know that we'd watch it again to make us want to get a copy of the DVD, but that's only because of space as well. I mean, there's a part of me that would love to sort of just have a copy of every movie that I've enjoyed, but we're literally we're maxed out on space. So the things we tend to buy are, Doctor Who, any of our other things that we really love, Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that, and horror films and sci-fi, but or comedies,
horror movies, or
comedies, or classic comedies or modern comedies, But then you get into other things, and you start thinking, oh my God, because even if we haven't been in one in ages now, but even if we go into a charity shop and we see films, excellent.
Charity shop Saturday, I already had that one. I thought it was a different one.
Yeah.
The exact same. So I've got 2 copies.
Well, just in case one sort of,
exactly.
messes up, you've got a backup.
Yeah.
But so it's like, that's probably it with this film for me personally. But if I had to rate this film, I would give it, honestly, I'd give it probably a 10 out of 10 for entertainment value.
Yeah,
definitely.
I must admit, I can understand that. In the Mount Disaster area, I've never ever seen a model car from the movie, ever.
That would be cool, if someone did that.
But right, so you would give it a 10. What would you say was your favourite part, and what would you say was your least favourite part?
Least favourite part, I have to admit, is probably the musical number bits. Again, taking nothing away from the performances, it's not my favourite thing in the world, but except for a couple of those songs, I really did enjoy a lot. But a favourite part of the film, it's probably the opening scene. The opening scene is brilliant, and it just draws you right into that world, because it starts out like an adult gangster movie, and then as those 4 or 5 lads, sort of corner the one in the alley, you realize they're all children, and then they go to fire on him, and it's just custard pies, and that's the bit that I loved the most, was the opening.
Yeah. I can understand that one as well. I just love this movie, I must admit. Jim, what about yourself? What would you give it a rating, and what was your favourite part, and what was your least favourite part?
Give me a second to get back in the seat. Was just
No
picking.
problem. I can go if you want. Give you a bit of time.
No, I'm here.
Right. Okay.
Apologies. I was just fixing some drinks. For me, well, when she stole it, it's literally the discovery that, hang on, these are kids.
Yeah.
That's not real weapons. They're firing custom. What is going on? It's literally the hook. But
Yeah.
I will take another scene, and it is the car chase.
Yes.
Pedal-powered T-Ford cars. And the fact that they add the sound effects, so there's, okay, it is trying to resemble, but I cannot kind of like distinguish. It's not T-Ford models engine sound. It's more moped sound. It has a little bit of misfire in there. It doesn't sound exactly like T-Fords that I've actually been in. I've actually driven one of myself. Don't have a driver's license, but private property. You can drive. It's just the way that the world has been modeled and scaled down so it suits, shall we say, shorter humans. So the scale is accurate to them. It's such a clever thing, and therefore the car chase scene is my favorite. In terms of bad stuff, I don't think there is anything this bad. I
That's
won't
why
give
I
it 10
said,
out.
what was the bad part? I says, what was your least favourite? See, I did that very typically because I didn't imagine the bad
That's
part.
clever language. So I will agree to that, but I don't think I have a least favorite part. This is thoroughly enjoyable through and through. There is nothing I would go, oh, let's fast forward through the scene, which I have, even in Star Wars. Believe it or not, I have a few scenes like, oh, get on with it. This one doesn't have that kind of, oh, get on with it. You enjoy it from start to finish. But I will only give it 9.5. It is not the... Okay. It is not the greatest film on the planet. It isn't, but it is definitely punching against the greatest films.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can understand this as well. And when see when you're saying about space and stuff like that, as you can imagine, mine's just starting to double up.
Yes, and you've got a fantastic space there. I mean, we
Yeah.
we have a room that we're dedicating to most of our physical media, but again, we're not in a huge place, and it just gets onerous then to have boxes of things around, and it's more things to potentially get lost and so we are a bit,
I had to
we do
catalog
cherry
it.
pick a bit, yeah, to
That's why I
borrow
had to
Mr.
catalog
Hyde's
things.
phrase. Yeah, we do cherry pick a bit with what we get now.
Yeah, that's why I had to catalog everything, because otherwise, you imagine me looking for my DVD. It's somewhere. And so I've got my
Yeah.
catalog, so I know exactly what shelf it's on. At least I just need to look in the shelf.
Yeah, you've got a great system there. I'm really envious of that.
Because
That's
I need it,
brilliant.
because the amount I've got. And
Yeah, I definitely need to steal that idea, because
Mhm.
having started with you guys on this channel, I was only like picking up things every now and then. Oh, I really like this. And if you recall, I think it was probably Let's Talk Geeky #1, where I presented the Sammo Hung martial law.
Oh, Samuel, yeah, that is superb. I do
Yeah,
like martial law.
but it was like the random pickups. And now I kind of feel I need to kind of go out and check the charity shop, see if they have anything interesting. And
Mhm.
boy, have I picked up a lot of stuff since then. And realizing it's like, it's dirt cheap. You can easily get a couple of DVDs a week.
Oh,
The only
gosh,
trouble
yeah.
is I'm starting to reach that limit where it's like, oh, I'm starting to get the backlog. I don't have enough time in the week to actually catch up and see
It
everything.
becomes so onerous then to actually catch up with watching
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
See, I never understand that because apart from work, everything else can get cut out. So I really see my wife. I stop smoking. I don't see my family. I stay in my room. So
Uh, just you wait until the wee one arrives.
yeah, the
Oh, I
grandson,
know.
the
I
grandson.
know.
I know
That's
he
right.
was just sitting here like this, watching Bugsy Alone. See that? That's what you need to watch when you
That's
grow up.
right. You're going to train him well. You're going to train him
Oh,
well.
I've got all my stuff in here that we'll both sit and enjoy. Second movie
Lovely.
he'll watch is Laurel and Hardy, and he'll watch every single movie Laurel and Hardy ever did before he's one.
I have one request, even though I know you have no control over how the kid will be raised. But I would say, from me, a deep desire is that you impart the wisdom of the never-ending story on your grandchild.
Oh, yes.
My daughter's a geek, so don't have issues there.
Lovely.
She's been reading Harry Potter since book one, first edition, and she's a big Buffy fan. So yeah, our
It's just a humble request
our
because
husband
it's
is
such
actually
amazing.
he's reading 40,000 Warhammer 40k books. He's got his Blood Bowl as well, so I'm okay. They'll be bringing the vein up properly.
Again, it's just a humble request. This is something that definitely should be carried on through generations. I don't care if Lord of the Rings, never-ending story is something children should definitely see. Spark their imagination, understand
Yeah.
that, hey, open a book, dive into an amazing world. Doesn't have to be fantasy. Can be anything, but open a book, dive in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So see, that's another thing as well. I remember my three. First one, every night when put her to bed, we would read her a story. She got really hooked on books, so and she still did it. Second one, we would read two of them a story every night. But if one went to bed a bit earlier, she was in his Keenan book, so she didn't bother. And then by the time the third one is, here, read her a book. And it was that. It's a case of you always have the high hopes, but by the time you're second, third, fourth, you relent a wee bit. So yeah, you need to keep it up for them all. But for me, favorite parts of this it is definitely Tomorrow, the song Tomorrow, and it's
Mm.
only because I really like this whole movie that takes me out in a good way because it's
Mhm.
one I could just watch that song and dance number, and it's not it's not silly funny like some of the dance numbers like We Could Have Been Anything That We Wanted to Be or My Name Is Tallulah or So You Want to Be a Boxer. Yeah, I mean there is a lot in there that are entertaining songs, but they're humorous songs. Whereas this one takes you right out because it's not a humorous song. The dancing isn't humorous. It's just somebody singing and someone dancing, and it takes you right out of the movie because it's so emotive. It's so solemn. It's just an amazing piece. So that's my favourite part of the movie. I do love silly humour. That's I've always been a silly humour type person. However,
Yeah.
when something can take me out of silly humour to the im- im- improvement of the movie,
It's playing on your empathy. It's like
yeah,
you're getting in. You understand the
yeah.
characters. You
Usually, see if I had the choice, would I watch something with slapstick or I would watch something with singing and dancing? Slapstick's going to get it every time. However, you've got a movie which is really funny. It's got a bit of slapstick in it with the pies, and it's got comic musicals, the comic dancing. Then you've got this right in the middle of it, and that can take you out, not to the point of it being detrimental, but something that can enhance the movie. and I just love that. And if that can take me out of something, a genre that I love, it has to be special for me. And I can understand, and I can't understand why, but I know it is. And it's because it takes me out of the genre, which I grew up with silly humour. But
Yeah, my dad
I
was
think,
into that
yeah,
as well, so that's why I kind of
that's exactly how I grew up, because my dad was the one
yeah.
that would watch Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy,
Hmm.
Abbott and Costello. So I grew up with all those because my dad
Grew
just
up on
watched
Abbott
them.
and Costello for
But
sure.
you're
Yeah.
essentially only mentioning the only ones, because if you consider when this film was made, you're only really mentioning the really, really great ones. Because this film really holds up, not
Hmm.
just today, but back in history.
Mhm.
Mm.
And you have to go Laurel and Hardy, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, all of that kind of really creative, high level understanding what you're doing in front of a screen.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is one for the Hall of Fame or
It
all
definitely
times.
is.
Yeah, it is. I definitely agree. Really good film. Again, just really took me out of my comfort zone in terms of what I thought I would like, because I'd obviously heard of the film. I really didn't know a lot about it though. But for some reason or other, it didn't it didn't stay in the front of my mind as something I, to remember to watch. Um, and yet when I saw it, I thought, wow, this, if I'd be curious to know how it would have impacted me had I saw it when I was much younger as well.
Yeah.
So this was my only time seeing it. So, but yeah, very, very good film.
This is what I really love about this group. It's
Bye, Kelly.
yeah, it's uh, basically a couple of strangers just, hey, let's have some fun, talk some films, see what
Hmm.
people do. And but again, I'm so surprised by the suggestions you guys have given.
Bye,
I
Mr.
go,
Hicks.
I recall that film. I think I've seen it. Oh no, actually I
But what
didn't.
I,
And it's like
yeah,
it's really great. It's like, wow, how did I miss
yeah,
this?
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. And I've obviously got very fond memories of going to see this with my cousins, all round about the same age. We all just had fun
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
because we had a day out in it. But the thing is, I can still watch it and then enjoy it with, even
Hmm.
though I've got happy memories about seeing it. It's like when not Brian Young, was saying that he's got unhappy memories of seeing it because it was shown in class and somebody was sick and the smell of sick, and it was every time this blood's gun and they were thing, you could somebody was being sick because of the smell, and
Oh,
it was just so I can understand why every
yeah.
time he sees that horrible memory flashes back, so it puts him off. I can understand it, but my happy memory, I suppose, and I enjoy it because it brings back that happy memory. However,
Mhm.
even when I've watched it 3 or 4 times, one after the other, after a while, it's not the memory. It's keep me enjoying it. It's the actual movie,
Mhm.
and that's the thing. And I think the worst part of the movie, if I can say that, was I suppose it was all they used the trope of the splurge guns in New York, and then all the Chinese, Japanese, French, Italian, German, all on the radio, on their phones, and it was only that wee trope. However, they subverted that trope later on when they had all the guys doing it again, and then suddenly they're all getting splurged as well.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
really well done. Yeah, that was clever.
One of the guys,
Yeah.
yeah, English, yes, it's just not crooked. That was the same guy who played the butler. So they had them, but it was the fact is that was, to me, it was still a funny scene, but it
Mhm.
was only because it was quite a tropish scene. Whereas a lot of the other ones, they'd taken the trope and flipped it in its head. That one, it just sort of expected with all the reporting the news. It's the type of thing you see in a lot of movies when they're trying to actually get it. It's worldwide. They always show the news from being reported by different places. And I just thought that was, considering it's not a bad bit, but it's just
Mhm.
my least favourite part because it's quite tropish. But they did subvert it later on by having them all doing the same again and getting more spludged at the end.
You know what's actually getting me in the mood for? Because I usually round off, whenever we have these streams, I round off with a film. It usually gets inspired what we're talking about. And you talking about the everything's wrong, well, reporting, there's an earthquake in Fuji, I am tempted to go back to I think was it 1977 Superman?
Oh,
Because
wow.
they're so heavily focused more on the newsroom rather
Mhm.
than what Superman is actually doing out in the world.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sort of starting to feel the mood of that kind of film to
Hmm.
come around.
Well, I got the Blu-rays of all the Superman movies, so that sounds ideal.
Yeah. God, I haven't watched any Superman
Aye.
films in ages, but loved the original. Well,
Yeah.
not the well, the modern
Not
the
the
modern film
aye,
with
yes. Not Christopher Reeve.
it's now a classic, really. I mean, which would be the Christopher Reeves.
Not the original with
Um,
George Reeve.
But George Reeves, I remember,
I
and I
remember
can
it as well.
remember. Yeah, I remember the TV show too. There
When
was a TV show.
they would jump in the window and you just see him landing. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, if you're going to continue with this, I might actually swap from Superman to the 1970s Spider-Man TV show.
Oh yeah, Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
I've got the 1970s one. I've got the remake, the couple of other animated ones as well.
We used to love Spidey.
Mhm.
I
I'm a
have
big Spider-Man fan, so
a funny story to sort of round us off, if you fancy. I many years ago, I grew up in with neighbors that had a very very big house next door to us, and because we had been neighbors for many years, our families were very close. So this one time they went away and they said to me, "Would you mind staying at our house, while we're away?" No problem. I went, stayed in the house. My mom had come up and had dinner with me this one night in their house. And then when she left, they had a lot of very, very, very expensive things in their house, which is why they wanted a physical person to stay there. And as a result, they had wrought iron metal gates actually around their front and back doors with padlocks on them. And so when she left, she must have unwittingly locked the padlock and taken the keys and stuck them in her pocket. So I was effectively locked in the house, right? So I went to go to work the next morning and realized I was locked into this house and I couldn't get hold of, and of course there was no cell phones back then, so I couldn't get hold of her on the phone. So I had to sort of put my thinking cap on, and in their kitchen, which had a sort of a pop-out section that had been built on, there was this there were these sliding doors, and essentially it was a huge drop off down underneath these sliding doors. I mean, if you fell out of them, you'd probably end up going to A&E. But
when you dreep,
underneath that was this lattice, this crosswork wooden lattice, right? So I thought, sod this, I'm going for it. So I pulled myself, I dropped my backpack down outside these sliding doors into a sort of stone wall surrounded garden, dropped the backpack down, and then swung around on my belly until my legs were hanging out, stuck my toes in the lattice, and then pulled the door shut from the outside with one arm, and I just sort of spider walked down the lattice and got out and was able to go and let my mom know, that she'd locked me in, and it was just really funny. And so I started getting the nickname Spider Woman after that, because I was telling the story at work, so we all had a bit of a laugh. They were calling me Spider Woman.
I've only did something like that. Well, twice it happened to me, or actually 3 times. It was the same house. when I was at uni. So the first time I got to the train station, and I just happened to look up, and I could see it was my ex going like that at the window. And I thought, oh, don't say I've taken the key with me, because we only had one key. So whoever was going out in the morning locked the door and put the key through the door, so the
Okay.
person inside could get it. I thought, oh, I've come out with the key. So as I get up, and I said, I was looking I was standing in the close, and I was looking for the key, and I couldn't find it. And then the door opened. I says, what? She says, you checked your bag. So I opened the bag, and meow. She put the cat in my bag, thinking I would notice it in the way to work, because she way to college, thinking it would meow, but it never did. So she had to call me back. She says, otherwise I would have been on the train, and as soon as I get into uni, I went meow.
Oh my
That's how
god.
it went. So the second time a similar thing had happened was I was in uni, and I got a call. Basically, somebody came to the class and says, so I went out, wondering what's happened. There's been an accident, whatever. And she says, your wife just called, you have to go home. And I said, did you see what's wrong? She says, yeah, you've got the keys in your pocket. So I locked the door and put the keys in my pocket, and she obviously must have been going like that. I never noticed, so I just straight on. She missed work that day, obviously, so I had to go home, and it was like 3 hours since I left. Coming back, and I had to get home.
Disaster is saying bring your pet to work day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have
Ideology.
exactly that, but my dad had a pet, a cat, before he met my mom, and it was his favorite cat. But for some reason, when I came around, this cat decided, "You're my favorite." And it was time to start getting to school. My dad had to triple check the trunk of the car just to
the
make
cat-
sure that the cat wasn't hiding in there just to tag along. There was, I keep forgetting how many times it was we were just like driving out of the area, and it was like stopping just before getting on the main road. It's like, just need to double check once again. And this is after checking like 3 times before everybody gets into the car. True enough, cat was in the trunk. Every single time.
Yeah.
I think my dad was clever enough to just go, like, no,
Just double check again.
doing something.
Yeah.
It's learning to hide, whether it's under like a spare wheel or wherever it is.
That was my cat. Basically, I never tried to hide it. It was put in my bag, and obviously it just kept quiet. Crazy. And the third time it happened in that house was the opposite. I was in the house, and I had to ask my neighbour to come up and break the door in, because I decided to wash the windows, and it was like the bay windows, but I was one flight up. So I was standing outside, and then I washed the bottom window, but I couldn't get the wee line at the top because the window had the slide up and down. So I couldn't get the wee bit at the top because it was underneath. So I'm holding on there, and I'm just tapping it down with my foot so it can come down. I can catch it with my fingers, and then I can get underneath. But as I did that, it went boom, and my finger jammed in the window. So I couldn't pull the window down because I didn't have the top window didn't come down, and I couldn't push the windows up because my 4 fingers in each hand were jammed in them,
Oh, ouch.
and I couldn't pull them because I was one flight up. So if I went like that, so I was standing there looking around, and I saw my neighbour, and I said to him, I says, "This is a silly question. Could you come up and kick my door in?" Because it was locked. I had the key on the inside, so he had to kick my door in. And for the next 3 years, he used to call me Fingers. So my advice after that to anybody is, don't wash the windows yourself.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yes, because I knew I couldn't pull my fingers out, because if I did that, I could have actually went and just tipped backwards. But no, I no longer go out. Set of ladders, no problem. I'll do the windows. Because I was quite happy just standing there, even though I was flight up. But I knew fine. So never do that again. But Anywho, my score for this movie, although we've got a 10 and a 9.5, mine's is going to be a 10. Normally, there's something in a movie even takes a half a point off, and I can't think of one part of this movie that I could even say something negative about. My least favourite part was not a negative even, it was just a trope, but it was still a nice twist on the trope when the end came. So I can't give this any less than a 10. And would I rewatch it every day if I got a chance?
Lovely.
I just love this movie, and I think it's just a fun movie to watch. You can sit back, relax.
Yeah.
The good thing is, I could sit back and relax with my grandson because
Yes.
it's not
Well, there's another generation to
ultra-violent.
enjoy
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
not ultra violent. It's not. There's no bad language. It's just a fun, entertaining
That's very
movie.
true.
Not
Yeah.
only that, there isn't even anything really inappropriate behavior between men and women.
No,
They have
exactly. It's
a
Oh, you look
it's
at
very light.
you look at
Yeah.
Scott Baio, the Bugsy, the womanizer. That's
Yeah.
what he's known at for
But
in
even
the
that
movie.
was done
But
very,
even at that, he only kissed Blousey once. The rest of the time he'd go, "What's her face?"
yeah.
He did it with
Yeah.
Blousey, he did it with Tallulah, and he did it with a couple of other ones at Spanx, and it was that.
Yeah.
Yet he was meant to be the womanizer in the movie because they
Yeah.
described him.
They did sort of hint at that, at the beginning. They sort of said,
Yeah, he was a
but
knockout with the dames. But
yeah.
it's the same again. So even Blousey, who'd been out with it, and the only time he got a kiss is when Tallulah kissed him in the top of the head.
That's right, yeah.
And then he only kissed Blousey once, and it was just after. I think it was just an affectionate kiss in the cheek.
Yeah, and that's all you needed. You
Yes.
didn't need any sort of gratuitous scenes or anything because it was just the story was there. It was obvious, and it didn't need any more than it had. I thought it was really tastefully done.
Yeah.
Particularly considering the cast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was
I mean,
done
I
in
mean,
such a way it wasn't even obvious it was done like that. It was just done, and there was nothing made about it.
No.
No, but
So
even
the
if you
obviously
look at the
says you don't want him to
Tallulah
go around
singing
kissing all the girls, so
sequence,
he's doing that. Actually, you can still see the affection, but it didn't actually stick out that sore thumb.
but even if you look at the Tallulah singing sequence, where she's supposed to be this hot dame in the
sultry.
the sultry lady and everything. Yeah, she takes a napkin out of a guy's suit, but it isn't like they wrap around the neck and give a quick lap dance and then just steal the drink and the cigar or whatever. No, it's just like she just steals the napkin. That's all there is. It's like, yeah, it's a personal connection. I'm doing something to you. I'm not just steamrolling you. Really cleverly made. And again, probably have to remind even you guys, this was 1976.
I know, yeah. It's easy to forget that when you're watching it. It's it's incredible. That's what I think impressed me the most. It's just the whole production for the time that it was made. It's just brilliant. Really, really good.
Definitely. And do you know how much I love this movie? I'm going to bring something
Can you
forward.
tell us, but in full screen and 4K HD?
No, I've only got it in DVD. I'm going to get the Blu-ray next time. Anyway,
Yeah.
not entirely sure if it's out in 4K, but I've not got a 4K reader. I've just got a Blu-ray. So
If there's ever a film that should, from this era, be brought back, full restoration, color, 4K, HK, super cinemas, whatever it is, this is one of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think colorizing it in bits and pieces and doing things to it, I think it would take the bits away from it. I'm not a great fan of restoration. See,
No, I'm not talking restoration. I'm talking upscaling.
Yeah,
So it
but
doesn't
see,
look
like I've got
bad
a lot of Laurel and Hardy ones, and they've actually, they didn't colorize them. They coloured. They didn't colour them. They colorized them because they found that the film stock, the negatives, the ones that they still had negative or were, if they were done properly, would bring out the colours, the proper colours. Because at the time they were doing them, everything was black and white because it went through the one process. They realised that if they go through the new processes, they can get colour in them. However, I still watch them all in black and white because it changes. As soon as you see a bit of colour in them, it's new.
For me, Jordan Hardy will always be black and white. Same with Charlie
exactly.
Chaplin.
But my next giveaway was not going to be 250. For 200, I'm going to put Bugsy Malone as a
Can I
giveaway.
unsubscribe?
Anybody who once I've reached 200, everybody will just be given a time just to put in a hashtag Bugsy in any of my videos, and I'll add them to the thingy. But anybody can. The only person that can is me.
Let me see. How to spam
Do up a-
Twitter with 500 messages.
It doesn't
Do
make
up a
any
tweet.
difference. I'll just put your name in once.
Write up a tweet, PJ, and tweet that out, and I'll retweet it and I'll add it to my various different pages and things like that.
Yeah, I'll do it
So
with
we can
things.
get that
I've
out there.
got Gab, I've got Getter, I've got Parler, I've got thingy, but it's the same idea. I've got a few out there, so I keep post them all on these. Actually, believe it or not, I actually am doing better on Getter than I'm doing on Parler and Gab, although I've been on them for over a year.
I was on
'Cause I've
Parler
got-
originally before it got axed, and I haven't gone back to it
Well,
only because I just haven't had time.
Well, in Gab, I've only got 4 followers. In Parler, I don't even know if I've got any followers. I think I've got 1. On Getter, I've got 9 already, and that's only been a week I've been on.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at Getter yet either.
But all I did was just register an account and Getter because I'm seeing what Twitter's doing. They're doing the same kind of level what YouTube is doing. It's like, oh, big news media channels, we don't care about you small content creator. And I kind of feel that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually we will have to move because YouTube definitely seems to have the plan. We want to sell or like give it to someone else, but we want to have it in this shape, not like 5 billion small YouTubers just creating a little bit of fun comments and videos and whatnot. Even if it's not offensive or political or whatever it is, it's just YouTube and Twitter and all of those, they seem to be following exactly the same path. Basically looks like the build-up. Like you're trying to make sure your company is looking as good as possible, and then you just sell it to someone else, and you never know where they will take it.
Yeah. And I'm not on Rumble, and I'm not on Discord either, so I'll need to actually sign up to both of them.
Well,
If you go,
if you need, admin kind of contact, you can contact me on Discord for the moment.
Well,
I usually post the links.
Colin Parler did get nuked because it was competition for Twitter, and Twitter got it nuked, but it got brought back under a thingy. So the accounts, if you had an account, it would have still been there. But I had it on my phone, so when it got brought back, you just logged back in. It just reset itself.
Yeah.
You now have 10 followers on Getter. Getter?
Aye.
Getter.
Getter.
Get her out of here. Right. Yes. So I'm not in Rumble, I'm not in Discord, but I will need to set them up. So there's my profile there. 10 followers. Way. Zach. So yeah, I've got. It's just one of those things. They started climbing up, and I'm sitting there thinking, I have a lot better than I've done in ones that I've been on for a year. But I've started posting things a bit more because my clips, I do 1 clip a day, and I'm actually already up to March the 7th. I've got clips on until they're not all them. So I've got them, I've got Bugsy Malone, I've got Forbidden Planet, I've got Down Periscope, a couple of
Oh, down Periscope would be fun to do.
yeah, well, we'll do Down Periscope for next Wednesday.
Sounds good to me.
Down Periscope, I just love it. It's just one of those ones. I've watched Down Periscope once a year since it first came out. The first time I saw it, I just thought it was just one of those zany comedies, and my favourite character is Nitro.
If I
Absolutely
saw
love
it, it would have been with my dad because it was the kind of a film my dad would have loved.
Yeah.
But when I watch it, it's going to be like watching it for the first time because unless I start seeing bits that I remember, I may or may not have seen it when I was much younger.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look at it and see.
Yeah.
But I know of it, and I know the genre that it's from. So it's definitely something I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there will be, since you said your favorite character is Nitro, get your hands off me! And the captain is going, let me guess, that's our chaplain.
Oh, it's the panic.
Yep.
It's the panic. He's fun, but I think my two favourite characters were Nitro and Sonar.
For
When
me, it's
Sonar's doing the dolphin
Sonar and
thing.
Buckman.
that was just funny. But Nitro, I tried to put a clip of every scene that Nitro was in, and it got copyright claimed because of one part, and that's when he's singing the Dean Martin part. And it's only that one clip. So I could have cut the sound out, but I think that whole clip you need in to show Nitro, because you can't actually have anything with Nitro without that clip in, because he goes from singing Dean Martin and shocking himself, and then suddenly talking let his tongue through it, and it's almost like it's starting Jump Station, and he just continues on. But you need that, and that's because they copyright claimed it. I didn't even bother editing it. I just deleted it and just put a Nitro clip on. Just another one, but I wanted
the film,
Nitro one.
Not the spoiler. The film is about the U.S. Navy. It's about a submarine, and the film ends with what's the disco group called? They're singing "In the Navy."
Yeah,
it's from the Village People.
Village People are all singing, and everybody's joining in.
Kelsey loved the Village People. Oh my God, I love it so much.
Even that bit is just so much fun because they all just the members of the cast joining in. They just are having fun doing it, singing it, and they're dancing with it. It's just Down Periscope is just a fun.
Is this from the film from 1996?
Yes.
Okay.
1996. Yes, Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer.
Yes, I see it. Yeah. Okay. Now I know I've got the right one.
Yep, it is an absolute fun one. I've been watching it at least a year since I got a hold of it. Once a year.
Great cast as well.
Oh God, aye. Because you look at the worst character in it, Rod Steiger, but I don't like him in a lot of these movies because he seems to be a one-trick pony in a lot.
Amazing in
but in this, he's really, really good in it.
Yeah, Rob Schneider started off on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
With I think he was there when Dana Carvey and Mike Myers were on it, and he had a funny shtick that we all used to sort of get a kick out of at the time. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like some of his films were a little bit sort of thin on the ground in terms of one thing or another. But
not trying to spoil, but one of my funniest deadpan scene in this is where Kelsey Grammer meets Rob Schneider for the first time, and he's just like reporting in and like really loud, and Kelsey Grammer is going, "Did you come with a volume button?"
Great cast. I mean, Harry Dean Stanton, he's one of my favorite actors. William H. Macy, Rip Torn. Yeah.
Have you seen Alien Autopsy?
I know of it. I think we might have had a look at that.
I did a review of it, and Harry Dean Stanton's in that.
I have to have a look at that then.
Alien Autopsy, Ant and Dec. And considering I'm not a great fan of Ant and Dec, I love that movie because
Mhm.
it's got the guy who played Chunk from
The Goonies.
no Chunk from Two Pints of Lager and a Packet of Crisps.
Ah, right.
The brother of the Mel's, the Will Miller character. Was it? It's no Chunk. It Sponge or Plunge. I can't remember. It's something like that. It's just that he's known as this short name, and I can't even remember it off the top of my head. That's a fourth actually spamming again today. So we must.
We are
Just zapped
really
it. Yeah.
popular this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I want them to do is actually hit the like button as well as post this rubbish. But if they did that, it would actually help my channel.
You need to write the script. So whenever they put in the like weird like 3-letter dot 3-letter, it's actually just like automatically like button.
Yes, that'd be great. Very clever. I like it.
I'm trying to actually.
Oh.
I've got the down Periscope, the tagline. Are we talking
Oh, I
about
don't
down
know,
Periscope?
Archer. Isn't Harry Dean Stanton the chap who finds Bruce Banner after he's crashed to Earth in one of the Avengers movies? I'm not sure. I haven't seen
Yeah.
them.
I recall
Let's
it
see. 'Cause,
vaguely.
where's Harry Dean Stanton? It'll be able to tell us that way.
Double check that.
Harry Dean Stanton, he's not seen how they always give you the top 20. Harry Dean Stanton's actually not one of the top 20 in the casting. That's crazy.
No, I think it is an Avengers film. It's more, yes, Avengers. Yes, it's one of the really recent ones. It's like, I got these clothes. You came falling through the sky. Luckily, nobody got hurt. I believe it's Avengers 1, the first Avengers 1.
Right. Recently, I'm going back, so let's see. Avengers Assemble. He played a security guard.
Yeah, that's him. That's him.
2012.
Yep, that's the one.
Oh,
and
yes,
he was in
Disaster.
Chuck as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he was.
Yeah. And Disaster saying he was in Alien with Jonesy, the cat. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Harry Dean Stanton roles, actually. I loved him in Alien.
Yeah.
Sadly,
Well,
we did
I loved
lose him about
him
years
in
ago.
Alien
but
Autopsy 2006. So I think it's just fun.
And another Harry Dean Stanton film that we've actually talked about before is Repo Man.
Yep.
That's
He was
fun.
good in that. The name of the ship was the SS-106 Stingray. So it
yes,
was.
and I
Yeah.
wanted that logo the longest time as a tattoo.
With a Stingray. With
Yeah,
a,
the stingray with the cigar, sailor's hat, and the tail like
muscles,
cheekily
yeah.
like.
Yeah, it was the SS-106 Stingray. Yeah, he was. Harry Dean Stanton's usually great in anything. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
When he was
he is
in
one of those actors.
Alien Autopsy, he was only in it for a wee bit here and there, but he basically took a comedy, a sort of, it's a wee bit dark comedy in places, and he played it so seriously it made it better. Because although they were Ant Deck were playing it a bit more humorous, it was a humour film rather than a comedy. So they had humour throughout of it. There was a bit of dark, so it was a wee bit dark humour here and there, but it was a light-hearted one. But anytime he was in it, he never played it for laughs or anything, and that which made it better because he played it so serious. It was fun.
But there are some actors that can do that. They bring just because the names, you know who they are and everything, and they just appear for like it's like a really well-made gin and tonic, like that tiny splash of like lemon juice or squirt of lemon juice on top. They're in it for just that tiny bit, but it is fantastic all over. Just because of that addition, they were in it for like 15 seconds. That was it. It was like, Really? I recommend. Hang on, and then
Oh,
you're more hooked into the film, and
did
you
you notice
realize
who's
you
in?
enjoy it.
Did you notice who's in? And I've not checked the cast list to see if I was right. Did you see who was in Down Periscope? Only a wee bit part. He has got a speaking line in it. He's the backup for Nitro.
No, I had to double check.
Who,
No.
who basically tried to bury Dave Chappelle after getting a photo taken with him?
Oh no, the short stubby fella. What's his name?
Patton Oswalt.
Really? Was he in this? I can't
Yes,
recall it.
he's a radio man. Watch it when you watch it for next week. The bit where there's the radio man talks and the Nitro has to line it up. That's who I noticed it was, and the only reason I noticed it this time is because he's been on Twitter, effectively throwing Dave Chappelle under the bus. So he was. He played the radio operator in the Stingray, so he did. And I noticed it, as I said, I had never even noticed him before because it was only a wee teeny bit. But as soon as I saw him, I thought, oh, didn't realise.
Wow, and it's only his 5th credit.
Yes,
It's
it was only a
literally
wee bit part, so it was.
It's only when he started his career. He only has 4 credits before it.
Yeah.
Didn't
So,
really
and he's
come.
in this, and he's got a speaking part in it, but it's a small part, and I didn't even notice it up until this point, and it was only because he'd thrown Dave Chappelle under the bus that I recognised him in it.
Yeah, I can't say I clocked him
But
before
we'll talk
I
about
saw
that
that.
next week. So we will. Fun, fun, fun. I'm looking forward to next Wednesday's Down Periscope when we can all be in the Navy. I know I need to stop singing. This is fucking terrible.
That's going to be my earworm now as well.
I can't even sing to save myself.
Which I don't mind.
I can't stop myself.
Well, you sing along, you dance along to this nonsense, whether you can sing or dance. You just do. I mean, everybody knows how to do the YMCA dance.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, like I say, I was
I'm saying
huge fan
everybody.
of the Village People.
We
I'm not
know.
ashamed to say.
Yeah, we all did that. The YMCA.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all did that. So we did.
Yeah.
It just shows that today we have the memes. You have a funny picture of an actor from a crappy TV show, but the subtitles have changed. But we had the memes. We had the dance. We had the movement. Even early on, we were talking about the Egyptian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keppel, Thingy and Betty, Wilson, Keppel and Betty.
But those were the memes that traveled without the digital screens. Because we had them, and everybody knew from Saturday Night Fever the stance, John Travolta.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have you know, I've got a picture somewhere with me with a black shirt on, with a white leather tie, white belt, black trousers, and the only thing I didn't have was the white jacket.
Why does that not surprise me? But I will plead guilty. I have somewhere a picture. I have a long leather coat on, and yes, I have the more business in front, party in the back kind of haircut because that was slightly-ish the fashion. But I'm walking out on a football field and I'm just raising my hand, and my friend took a photograph from behind.
Yeah.
Breakfast Club shot.
Oh yes. Love the Breakfast Club. That's another one we should do.
Yes, I've only seen it once, believe it or not.
Oh my God, I love it.
Right, you want to see something funny. Really,
I'm gonna have to go in a moment.
We'll finish off with this because we know what we're doing next week. We'll finish off with this. This was 34 years ago. A couple of days. It's a couple of days out with it, right? It came across my feed. That's me with no beard and the hair.
No way.
Yes, way. That's me 34 years ago today.
That's brilliant.
That's when my daughter was born.
Brilliant.
That's basically my daughter when she was born. And
Apologies to your
so-
wife,
Oh.
but I'd marry you.
But yeah, I mean, that's basically, I just kept pulling the hair through there and it disappeared from up there.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
it's IT support
That's
where
lovely.
what people just going. I don't know how my computer
yeah.
works. Are you just doing the movement? And
Yes, very
slowly
nice,
just
very nice.
shaving it off from the top.
But yeah, that popped up my memories the other day because it was my daughter's birthday and that's the picture I've got of her, me and her when she was born.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So
That-
popped
that
up. I
is
thought, oh
really
my
brilliant.
God, look at the difference. It looks like my head is upside down now. But
Well,
ladies
maybe
and
you should
gentlemen,
flip the camera for the future. You might
It's an
have to
idea.
rearrange the background, but
yeah, that's an idea. I probably will do that. Right, so what we'll do is we'll finish there. Babyface was Dexter Fletcher. So we already covered Babyface. So we did. So we'll finish there for tonight. Thank you very much all for staying with us. And anyone's not seen it, I've put the link earlier in the chat for Bugsy Malone on YouTube. You can watch it there. It is a fun movie. Check it out. I will put the link in the description after we're finished here. We'll see you next Wednesday for Down Periscope.
Mhm.
Prior to that, we'll see you on Saturday for just a general geeky chat. And then Jim and I will see you on Sunday, maybe with Colin, to finish off episode 7 and 8 of The Wheel of Time. And then if I don't shoot myself, I will be on stream at 8 o'clock. So,
Fantastic.
I will give this before we go off. You're going to regret having given up smoking.
Oh, don't tell him that.
no,
Don't
it's
tell him
90
that.
days.
So
Actually,
I'm telling you,
get off.
have your wife in the background with the shackles or whatever lockdown method
Yes.
you need, because you will need it.
He's
the
going to be
thing
like
is,
Hannibal Lecter in the sort of hand cart they had
I
him
might
in.
need a nice Chianti.
As long as it's not served with brain.
Yep. Resident Aliens back Saturday. That's why we are finishing off Wheel of Time a week early. Instead of doing 7 and then 8, we're doing 7 and 8 so we can do Resident Alien the week after.
Yeah, I need
That's why
to
we're
catch
doing
up
it.
on Resident Alien, but
Yeah.
that's essentially why we're crunching everything. And
So we can
we
do
will
Resident
try to
Alien
keep-
episode 1 and 2 together, and then we
Cool.
could just go an episode at a time. So we'll see you all Saturday, Sunday, and next Wednesday for Down Periscope. So thank you all for sticking with us. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Windology. And remember,
Thank you.
I'm not old. I'm classic. PJ may be,